welcome back to Girl Who Cares, episode 14 with Isha,
Simran,
and Ria.
And today we've got a special guest with us, Kimran.
Hiya. You guys might have seen me on your Instagram or TikTok, but more recently I have started my own business and it's called Influenceable.
So, Influenceable, could you tell us a bit about what that is? Because obviously for the people out there, they won't have a clue what that is.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of like a social media agency. That's the predominant focus, but we do like a lot of influencer marketing. We work with a lot of models, events. Like it's been a bit of we do a bit of everything to do with the marketing world, but it's like really hectic. It's like a lot. It's always on the go. It's never a boring day, basically.
Yeah. So when did you start like this business?
This started in 2023, but the end, like right at the end, like December. I was still working full time. I was still working in an admin job, and I was doing that up until last May. So I only quit my job. My last full month was in May, and then in June I left it full time, and now I'm doing this full time. So it's been I would say the first couple of months wasn't really like properly starting it until I actually left.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the time to put it into it because I was kind of scared, like, do I leave? Like, it is a big jump, like leaving a financial stable job for something that you actually don't know what's going to work out.
Yeah, and obviously because this is your thing, there's no other people really working around it. So you have to, obviously you've got a partner.
I've got a business partner,
Yeah, but obviously it's just you two. So then obviously you guys have to do everything yourself. There's no other people sorting it out. So all your time is solely on that.
Yeah.
What made you create Influenceable?
I've always been into marketing. I've always wanted to do marketing. I love social media, and I've been on social media myself personally since I was about 14, and I've always been like quite prominent on it. So I feel like I'm quite like I know my social media, like I know it. I know how it works. I did actually start my own agency years ago, like in lockdown. Like it was my baby. Like it was called Kimran's Com. Like that was so cringe. I don't know why I did that. But it was my first baby, and I started that. But like because I didn't have any experience in it properly. Like I knew what I was doing, but I didn't as well. I was still like really young. Yeah. So I started that, but then I still needed to get my income from somewhere because I couldn't charge like X amount because it's like they'd be like you don't know what you're doing, like you're just a little girl. So started that, but then I still had to get a job during it. So started the job that I was at that for 2 years, but I still hated it because it was admin. I know I always wanted to go into social media marketing. I was applying, I was going to jobs everywhere, like I was going to interviews everywhere. And it was just so hard, like trying to find something because I didn't want to do marketing as a whole, and I really wanted to do just social media marketing. So it just kept going for a while, and then eventually I just was like, I'm not happy with how my life is right now. Like I'm really not happy with it, and I wasn't really progressing in life. I was just kind of like stable in the same, like I was just doing the same stuff. Like I wasn't really doing anything in my life, and then I just was like, my business partner, he came to me and he's like, you have the following, you have the connections, you have the network, just start it because you actually don't know what's going to come from it. Exactly. So I started it, we started it together, and it just kind of kicked off, and it's been crazy. It's been a crazy year, I think, for us. Like it's kind of bloomed in a way we didn't think it would bloom. We didn't expect it, but I'm really glad it started now because now
you've got something that's actually like doing really well.
Yeah.
And people are recognizing it. People can see it. I mean, I see a lot of things on my social media like to do with it and stuff.
Oh, that's always good to hear.
But
no, it does look really, really
good. I've worked with you as well. I've worked with your agency as well really recently.
Yeah.
So.
But it's crazy, like 2 models that we've actually worked with because of Influenceable. Right here.
But obviously, being a businesswoman, so obviously there's a lot of people out there who, even for us actually, we can relate to this. But starting off anything, whether it's Influenceable, a podcast, fashion brand, even going on TikTok, whatever. Obviously, people are going to have questions like the struggles. Are there going to be struggles?
Yeah.
They're going to question, is it worth putting their time and effort into it? I mean, when we started the podcast, I first thought my idea was crazy and I thought no one's going to even care. Obviously, I was so lucky that these two did. But then I'm sure they probably thought as well, like, is it going to work? Like, realistically, are we actually going to be able to make it work, etc. But obviously, I think for us, it was the motivation, positivity, and obviously we worked really well as a group. But for you, did you have any doubts about Influenceable at first and any struggles that you might have faced or you thought you were going to face?
So when I first started it, I actually didn't think anything of it. Like I didn't think this would come from it. I just thought it'd be like my first one, like it'd just be a bit like sidelined. Obviously with my business partner, we had a lot more connections than I originally had been exposed to, but I still didn't think it would work. I still was like, I don't think you ever think from yourself that you're going to be able to create something for yourself and you're going to be able to work from yourself and be able to do it, especially as a girl. And I am the eldest brown girl in my house as well. Like I am like doing it like my own time this time. So I think for me, it was more like I've had so many doubts about, especially leaving my job. That took me a long time to leave because I was there for 2.5 years in admin and I hated it. But it was more like, how is this going to work? Like, how am I going to do it? Especially as I'm so young and I don't know much about the business side of things. I know my stuff to do with social media. I know everything, every service I offer, I know it. Yeah. But in terms of like running a business as a girl this young, like it's so hard to do that.
And I think also standing out, because there might be things that already are similar and you want to stand out. You want people to think, well, why do I want to choose Influenceable than XYZ?
So I think that was, to be honest, I think the issues that I've faced actually now that I've been in it for a while, that is one of them. But I'm not too bothered about the competition in terms of other businesses that offer the same services, because I know that our services are really unique and we're so personalized to every single one of my clients. Every single one of my clients, we have such a good relationship with every single one of them. And even the other side of it, the models and the influencers, they all love us and I actually love them. I love every single model that I worked with. I love every single influencer I've worked with, and we all get along so well. I think it's because it is a very female focused business. Like it is very like women empowerment, and like the whole focus of it is girls and girls doing well, and me trying to like bring these opportunities to girls and them like, oh my god, let me take it, like let me do it,
helping them.
So I think in terms of competition, I'm not too bothered about that, because I know there's so much room for everyone to do well. There's so much room, like there's so many people with businesses that want the same services, so I know everyone there's room for everyone to do it. But I think one thing that I have like really faced recently is the fact that because I am a girl and because I am so young, and they can tell that I am so young, they don't take me as seriously as my business partner because I am just a girl. And I think I've noticed like some people just like speak to him more than me, or like when it comes to more important things, it goes to him. And I think for me, it's like, I do this too. Like I do this too. But I think that's one thing. I think it's also the fact that like just trying to break that barrier of the fact that like I am serious in this, and this is
for the women
like
out there.
it is. I think obviously when you are in business with someone as well, it's kind of the thing of who do they go to first, but it's also like I've noticed that they do go to him more, and that is okay, that is fine, because he's great at his job too, but it's also like I am here too.
It is a bit downgrading.
It is a bit like undermining, I think that's the word. But I think I've kind of dealt with that, and I'm like, it's fine, like I think I can kind of move past it. But I think that is one thing that I didn't realise would be an issue, but it has been an issue since then. But that's just more of what I feel and stuff.
That's for everything though, because I feel like we've probably faced a few challenges as well when we've been asked to work with other people, and you do think sometimes they might try and sneak past you, thinking, oh, they're young, they're girls, they're not going to clock this, notice this.
Yeah, they just try to like take advantage basically and try it on.
Yeah,
definitely. But obviously you got to remember, as a female, being a female doesn't mean
any less.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just because you're female, like, what does that mean? It means you're a confident, strong woman. Like, we need to get out there more that, females are just as good as males. Like, they both do really well at their job, and so we should work together rather than, putting a bridge there and saying, like, I'm going to go to him more because he knows better.
Yeah.
So how did your family feel about you leaving your full-time job? Because I know a lot of brown girls, a lot of brown children in general, they face this issue. It's like the parents are like, you can't leave your full-time job because it's not seen as a good thing, and they'll basically think that you're unemployed in the whole society.
So actually, when I first started this whole thing, I went to uni for a year. And I dropped out. That was the biggest struggle. So I think having that, like, eldest Farango dropping out of uni, what the hell is she doing with her life then? That was my biggest struggle in terms of my parents understanding that, because it was like, my mom was fine with it. She was like, there's so many other paths to go in it. But I think my dad was more like, what are you going to do with your life now? Which understandable, because as a parent, you are going to think about
especially
what's the next route. Yeah,
it's
what's
like,
if
you don't have your degree, you ain't
It's like, what is your next route?
Everyone sees dropping out as such like a bad thing to do, but obviously, like, if you're not happy, if you want to do something else, then why not drop out?
I hated it. I literally hated it.
And uni isn't like the best thing to do nowadays. Like, having your own business, doing an apprenticeship is way better than just going to uni for the sake of it. I feel like everyone just goes to uni because that's what's expected.
And it's like societal norms, I think.
People forget that when you're at uni as well, like, they'll say, oh, but you've done a year, that's such a waste. But they don't realize that sometimes when you go to uni, you feel it's not what you expected. You know, mental health wise, friendship wise, the course wise, there's so many things, and it's not always going to be for you. Obviously, you think you want to go to uni, but then when you're there, sometimes you might not want to. And it's the same with a job. You know, if you go to do something and you realize it's not quite what you expected, then that's fine. Like you're allowed to drop out, you're allowed to move
I think
away.
that was it for me, because I never wanted to go to uni originally, but because it was COVID, there was no like apprenticeships and stuff, and even the jobs that I wanted to do, there was nothing there for me because no one was giving jobs out during that time. So when I did do my year at uni, it was like I hated it so much. Like mentally, it was just like, what am I doing? Like I hated it. So then when I did choose to leave, it was so scary, like telling my parents that, because I was like, oh my God, like, am I actually doing this? Like, what am I going to do next? I had no plan what I was doing next. I think I started working properly again. I did a couple of jobs here and there. And then I fell into this job. I started my first business. But I think they were fine. They were more like scared then for when I told them about my business. Because I think they had seen me do some like bits and bobs about it, like obviously in that first couple of months before I left my job, they had seen that I was starting that, and they had seen that like I was actually doing, like after work I'd go and do work over there, I'd go and meet clients and stuff, so they could kind of see that she is doing something. So I think when I actually did leave my job, it was more like, okay, we need to lay down everything, like okay, how are you going to make it work, like in terms of like the finances, in terms of how is it going to work, like where's it going to be, like all of this stuff, like it had to be laid down to them. And I do get that, because I think you want to see like, okay, what is she actually going to do with her life now, because you're going to sit at home every single day, like that's I think what it looks like to them, like if you're just sitting at home every day.
And obviously, like, you know, in this day and age, you have to be earning money to survive. I think it's for parents, it's like if they're just worried, like, is she going to be earning money? Because they don't want, obviously they'll be there for you, but it's, at the end of the day, it's like, you know, you need to be in something that you're going to be getting something from. Yeah,
and I think that's it for them. I think they were more concerned, like, about, like, what are you going to do now? Like, how is it going to work? But I think they were more concerned about me leaving uni than they was about this. So I think they were actually kind of like, okay, let's just see how it works. And then when I did leave, now they're so happy. Like, now they love it. That's like, my dad was at my office building it. Like, my mom, like, she's, like, the biggest support. Like, my family are really cute. Like, even my extended family, they love it. And they're, like, they're such big ambassadors for it. Like, they're always, like, congratulating me and stuff. And it is so nice now. I think they've seen that, oh, she actually is doing something with her life now. And I think I've had so many years of me just doing, like, aimless, like, jobs just to make money, kind of.
But it's kind of scary being in your 20s not knowing what you want to do, because everyone else will seem to have, like, a plan in place, like, go to uni, get a job. But if you're just there and you don't know what to do, it's like, well, I feel behind in life. And it's scary to, like, go out of your comfort zone as well. But sometimes that's the best thing to do, and just, like, do what you want to do, basically.
Yeah, I think it has been quite scary in that sense, but I think now, like, it is all falling into place. Like, they can see that it's paying off and stuff, and like my sister now, she goes to uni, so at least one of us is going to uni. So they're still getting that. But I think it is paying off now, and they're seeing like the fruits of it in the way.
And it's just nice for you to be able to prove a point to people. Show them that it is possible. Like, you can do it.
You don't have to go to uni to be able to do something.
Exactly. I think that's such a big thing in today's like day and age, especially brown girls, like because there is that pressure that you have to go to uni, you have to do this, like even the whole like medical fields, like being like in the medic like kind of fields and stuff, like that's a really big pressure for girls. I think a lot of my friends are like all in medicine fields. Like I think I'm the only one that like they're so opposite to me. Like they're like so NHS, like and I'm just like on social media. So.
Every time, like for my friends from back home, they were always into science kind of fields. Then I met my friends at uni, again, all do pharmacy. I was like, why am I the only creative person around here? But you know, but like you said actually, Ria, you don't have to go to uni, because even I think now, people ask me like, oh, like, do you think you could have done media like without the degree? And I was like, you know what, I actually do, because I feel like, let's say I came up with the idea that I wanted to do a podcast. If I worked, earned money, didn't have uni, didn't have all those costs for uni, saved up, put that money into like the podcast earlier on, it could have gotten even further. I do feel like uni may have held me back a bit. Like, obviously, I'm learning so many new things that I definitely would not have learned on my own. But also, I think, like, you know, if I knew kind of a field I wanted to go into, then I could have not needed to do it.
But I do think as well, like, you might think it would have held you back, but I think now, like, you've had the experience in it, and now you're like, this is when it's meant to be for you now.
No,
and I think
definitely,
now it's like a good
and obviously
thing.
now I know that like if I got bored of doing something, at least I know, well, I've got skills in this and that.
Yeah.
So it's widened up my opportunity. So that is a good thing.
Yeah. So you mentioned like struggles and challenges. Has there been any points where you felt like giving up?
Yeah, all the time, but yeah. I literally like cry all the time about it. It's really, really hard. I think that's one thing I don't show that at all on social media, like how hard it actually is. Like I think I'm cried about 3 times this week. My family are like, one time I came home and my makeup was like this, and mom was like, "You've been crying again?" She's like, do you need me to like tell you off, like, so you just stop crying? And it is really, really hard. Like I think especially like you don't actually realize how hard it is, especially like I'm very emotional as it is. I'm a very sensitive girl. I am a very girly, like empath girl. Like anything you will make you cry, I'll cry at it. So I think like especially like being in such a stressful environment, because obviously it is your own. When you're working a 9 to 5, you can just like clock out at 5 o'clock and it's the next day. If I don't get that work done by that day, I have to keep. I won't make the money. Like,
it's completely different when you're like your own boss and you feel in charge of everything and responsible for everything.
Especially like because I think with the whole client situation, it is really hard because like you realize that you've got so much to do. Like right now, I've got a massive backlog. I'm not even going to think about it. But like the next couple of months are extremely busy for us, and I think that's
people are relying on you.
It's like it is getting to like obviously I'm so grateful for it because I can't believe it's gotten to this phase where I'm like my whole schedule is packed out right now. I can't believe it's gotten to that stage. Like, but now it's like, oh my god, like it's dealing with that, especially like trying to balance your social life, your personal life, your family life, your friends, like and just being like in the gym and like everything else you think of, especially like working. Like I'm not working a 9 to 5, I'm working bloody like a 6 a.m. to like 12 p.m. at this point.
Because there's only 2 of you. Because same with like, obviously we can relate quite well, all of us girls, because obviously we're in different businesses, but like it's similar, we all have our own thing. And I completely agree with you because like you said, like you've been crying and all that. Like the amount of times this podcast has made me cry in the sense that I've literally been like, I want to quit, I want to stop, just because like you have a goal. Like in my head I have a goal, and sometimes I'm like, you know, we haven't reached that goal, we haven't done this, like we had taken quite a long break, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, you know, like sometimes girls are sensitive, and I'm a very sensitive person, and so, you know, it just gets to you and it's very emotional. And you know, I remember once I was just sat there and I was like crying, I was like, I'm not gonna do this, I'm about to text Ria and say when I'm cancelling it, I don't want to do it.
I'm glad you didn't.
And then it wouldn't be here. It's just like my emotions like going all over the place, but I was just like...
especially when it's something that means so much to you.
Exactly.
You're like, it's so precious to you. You want everything to go right, and when it doesn't, or you start having doubts, like, obviously it's going to make you upset.
I think especially when it's your own, like when you built that and you've done it from the ground up, like you've literally had dreams about it. It's so hard because it's like when something goes wrong, or when like, you know, you've got deadlines to meet and you know you've got people to please and like do things for. It's like, oh my god, like how am I doing this right now? Like is it shit on top of me? Like last night I was up till like 1 a.m. like sending stuff off for my clients.
That's the problem.
Like it's really hard.
Your own thing. There's not a time.
There's not a cut off. There's not a cut off.
It's like we'll be texting and we'll be saying like, guys, we need to shoot a podcast, but we can't. Obviously, we're not all from the same city. So we have to travel, and we're like, 9 o'clock tonight, let's shoot. Like that's crazy. 9 o'clock at night till what, 11?
Till 11,
Like we've shot like really late at night because we need to get that out there. So it is kind of crazy, like there's no shut off point.
But it's good though because like at least you guys have that drive and you're like, no, you know what, I'm still doing it. No matter what time it is, I'm still doing it. And I think you have to have that when it is your own, because if you don't have that, then you're gonna run into the ground.
Definitely.
So just lastly, I wanted to ask, do you have any like words of advice to anyone wanting to start their own business?
I think just do it. I think you'll never actually know if it will work out until you do it. And if you are going to do it, put 100% into it, because the first time I did it, I didn't. I put about 60% in, and that's why it didn't do well. But this time I think I put my all into it, to the point where like you literally have mental breakdowns because of it, until you're not reaching that stage. I know it's a horrible stage to do, but you have to go through that for something to work. So just keep seeing it through, keep being patient with yourself and patient with the process, because it is a long process for you to start seeing the fruits of it. So just keep going, because as stupid as that sounds, that's the only way you're going to get through it. And it is going to be hard. You're going to see so many challenges, but just keep going, because if you don't, then it's not going to work.
Just have that motivation.
Keep going, literally.
Thank you so much for coming on to our show today. And we will be back next week with Kim again. It will be continued, but we'll be on a different topic. But thank you, and see you guys then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.